Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna, and today we're going to be talking about something that's really important to me, cochlear implants. In this video, I'm going to break down what a cochlear implant is, how it works, and some tips on how to support the deaf and hard of hearing community. I'll also be doing a second video next week where I dive into my personal journey with cochlear implants, so stay tuned for that. I'm throwing a disclaimer out there that I am not a medical professional. This information is based on my research and personal experience. So please consult with a medical professional for specific advice or concerns that you may have. Just wanted to put that out there. Also, whether you're someone who's curious to learn more, a parent of a deaf child, or you're deaf or hard of hearing yourself, I'm here to hopefully answer all your questions. So let's get started. What is a cochlear implant? So, a cochlear implant is a device that helps people with severe or profound hearing loss. It's different from a regular hearing aid because instead of just making sounds louder, it actually works by sending signals directly to the auditory nerve. This helps you process sounds in a way that feels clearer and more direct. How does it work? So, I wear an external processor behind my ear that has a microphone and a battery. This connects to the internal part of the implant, which uses tiny electrodes to send signals directly to my auditory nerve. So it basically skips over the damaged part of my ear, which is the cochlea, and is the reason I'm deaf. How do they put it in, and what is the surgery process like? So, the internal part requires surgery. The surgeon makes an incision behind the ear to access the inner ear structures. A small hole is drilled into the skull to insert the internal components. Then the surgeon carefully puts in a small electronic piece that helps send signals to your hearing nerves. This part stays inside your head. Then the incision is closed with stitches and a dressing is applied. Are there risks or side effects associated with cochlear implant surgery? Cochlear implant surgery is usually very safe, but like any surgery, there are some risks to keep in mind. Things like infection, bleeding, or even damage to the facial nerve could happen, which might cause temporary or, in rare cases, permanent facial weakness. After the surgery, some people might feel dizzy, have balance issues, mild headaches, or numbness around the ear for a little while. There's also a small chance the implant could stop working, and the magnet in it can make getting an MRI tricky. Once it's turned on, it can take some time to get used to the new sounds, and at first it might feel overwhelming or uncomfortable. Do you hear right away after the surgery? So, on activation day, you usually hear warbly sounds, but you don't hear words clearly. So you have to train your brain to understand words. It typically takes 6 months to a year to hear words completely, but it depends on the person. Everyone's training process is different. Can you take it off? The external part, you can. Many people take it off to clean it or maintain it when they go to sleep, when they go swimming, or just to take a shower. How does it stay on? So the external processor has a magnet on the transmitter, and you just position it over where your magnet is placed internally, and it just stays on. There is a bump on the side of my head, and that is where the internal magnet is, which helps easily locate where the magnet is. What does a cochlear implant look like? We'll use my left ear as an example. This is what mine looks like on the right side, but they come in different sizes and colors. This is the microphone, this is the battery, and this is the cable that connects to the transmitter, and then this is the magnet. And then I'll put some examples of what other cochlear implants look like. Why don't all deaf people get cochlear implants? There's a lot of reasons why not all deaf people get cochlear implants. For starters, cochlear implants are usually most effective for people with severe to profound hearing loss, people like me, who don't benefit from regular hearing aids. But for someone less severe hearing loss, hearing aids might work just fine. Then there are some health reasons. Some people might have medical issues or ear conditions that make getting a cochlear implant more complicated, like infections or ear structures that makes surgery tricky. And honestly, a big part of it comes down to personal choice. For some people in the deaf community, being deaf is a core part of their culture and identity. They might feel more comfortable using sign language and other ways to communicate instead of getting an implant. And let's not forget the cost. Cochlear implants can be really expensive, and not everyone has access to the resources or insurance to cover it. So it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all decision. Can a hearing person wear it? No, they cannot, because you don't have the internal components. I think if someone had the same brand of cochlear implant as I do, they could try it on, but I've never had that happen before, so I don't know. Can babies or elderly people get cochlear implants? Yes, both babies and elderly people can get cochlear implants. Cochlear implants can be implanted in babies as young as 12 months, though in some cases, implantation can occur earlier if there is a strong medical justification. I had my first implant at the age of 2.5. For elderly people, there is no upper age limit for receiving a cochlear implant. It just depends on whether they are healthy enough to get the surgery, whether a cochlear implant is recommended for them. Do you still need sign language? Well, yes and no. It really depends on the person and their situation. For example, if someone gets a cochlear implant at a young age, like I did, they might focus more on developing spoken language skills and not end up using sign language. I was put in speech therapy right away and have been verbal my whole life, so I never needed to use sign language. But for people who get an implant later in life and already know sign language, it's a big part of how they communicate, so they might continue using it. Plus, cochlear implants don't work the same for everyone. Some people get close to normal hearing with them, while others may only get limited benefits and might still rely on sign language. And then there's the cultural side. Some people choose to use sign language no matter what, because it's such an important part of their identity and connection to the deaf community. Honestly, I think it's a great skill to have, and I kind of wish I had learned ASL when I was in school. It would have been awesome to have it as a foreign language option in high school. Is it better than hearing aids? For me, yes. For others, no. Like, I am completely deaf in both ears, and hearing aids just would not work for me. Hearing aids would just make sounds louder, and I don't have enough residual hearing to be able to hear it, even if it's really loud. So for me, cochlear implant is a better option for me. Is there anything you can do with a cochlear implant? Cochlear implants are not typically waterproof, so users need to remove the external processor before swimming or engaging in water sports such as scuba diving. Some models offer waterproof accessories or covers, but these need to be used appropriately. The internal component of the cochlear implant contains a magnet, which can be affected by strong magnetic fields. So activities involving strong magnets, such as certain MRI procedures, require special precaution or might be denied. Activities that involve a high risk of head trauma, such as contact sports like boxing or football, can be risky. So users may need to wear protective headgear or avoid such activities to prevent damage to the implant. Do you wear it when you sleep, shower, or swim? No. Cochlear implant users generally take it off when they sleep, shower, and swim. Cochlear implants are not designed to be worn in water, as moisture can damage the device. Also, it is not designed for sleeping, as you don't want to damage it when you sleep on your side. And they like to have their batteries all charged up for the next day. So, is it waterproof? This one is not. I think all the main brands have some sort of waterproofing system. I know for my brand, which is Advanced Bionics, it's called the Marvel CI Waterproof. I could get that on my left ear, but not on my right ear. Are you allowed to drive without your implants? Yes, it is completely legal. Like, if my battery died while I was driving, I wouldn't stop immediately to change the battery. I would carry on. Maybe I would change it if I got to a stoplight, or if I had someone in the car with me to help change my batteries for me, or I can do it myself with one hand and the other on the steering wheel. I personally prefer to wear when I drive because I like to listen to music when I drive, and I also would like to know if there are any emergency vehicles approaching too. How to support a deaf person. Supporting a deaf person isn't as hard as it might seem. It's just really about being understanding, patient, and respectful. When you're talking to someone who's deaf, it helps to make eye contact and face them directly. This helps make it easier for them to read your lips or pick up on facial expressions, which can give extra context. Speak clearly and at a normal pace. There's no need to shout or exaggerate your words, since that can actually make it harder to understand. If they miss something, try rephrasing instead of just repeating it. Using visual cues can also be helpful, like pointing at something, or using gestures, or even writing things down. Honestly, a quick text can sometimes be the easiest way to communicate. Patience is really important. If it takes a couple of tries to get your point across, that's okay. Just show that you're willing to try. That means a lot to them. Not every deaf person communicates the same way. Some might use sign language, some might lip read, and others might prefer writing things down. The best thing to do is just ask what works best for them. And if they use sign language, learning a few basic signs can go a long way. It shows you're making an effort to meet them halfway. And in group settings, it's easy for a deaf person to feel left out, especially if the conversation moves fast. So make sure to face them when you're talking, keep them in the loop if they miss something, and use visuals if that helps. And remember, don't assume what a deaf person can or can't do. Everyone is different. So if you're unsure, just ask. At the end of the day, it's all about treating them with the same respect and consideration you'd want. Communication is a two-way street, and it's about figuring out what works for both of you so they feel included and valued. What not to say to a deaf person? Can you read my lips? Never mind. Or it's not important. I'm sorry you're deaf. How do you drive? Or how do you have a job? Can you hear me now? Slowly initiating words, etc. Those things you should just never say towards a deaf person. They just come off as rude, patronizing, dismissive, and offensive. Just face the person, use clear communication, consider writing things or typing things if you have to, learn basic sign language, be patient, get their attention, gently tapping them on the shoulder or waving your hand. So yeah. Can deaf people read lips? Yes, some deaf people can read lips, but not everyone does. And it's definitely not 100% accurate. Lip reading or speech reading is actually pretty tricky because only about 30 to 40% of spoken English is easy to catch just by watching someone's lips. A lot of sounds look really similar, like bat and pat. So it's super easy to miss certain words or details. For me, lip reading is a helpful tool, especially when I'm in a noisy environment or if I'm struggling to hear with my cochlear implants. It's not something I rely on completely, but it's great for filling in the blanks when needed. For most deaf people, lip reading is just one piece of the puzzle. We also use things like sign language, gestures, facial expressions, or even writing to make sure everything is clear. So while some people are amazing at lip reading, it's not something every deaf person can or wants to do. It really depends on things like good lighting, how clearly someone speaks, or even how familiar they are with the language being spoken. So that is a wrap on this video. I hope you found this video helpful in understanding cochlear implants and how to be a great ally to the deaf community. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2 of my cochlear implant journey coming next week. Drop any questions or thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.